You're now watching B2B Vault, the Biz2Biz podcast, hosted by Allen Kopelman, powered by Nationwide Payment Systems, the #1 solution for payment processing.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of B2B Vault. B2B Vault, the Biz2Biz podcast, sponsored by Nationwide Payment Systems and our new gateway, NPS1. There's an alternative to Stripe, and it's NPS1. Go to our website, nationwidepaymentsystems.com, and book a demo, and we'll show you what it's all about. And today we're going to dive into some financial technology discussion with Daniel Kalish from Nilus. And he's in New York. And welcome to the show, Daniel.
Hi. Thanks for hosting me.
So
thanks for having me here. Yeah.
Tell us about your company.
Great. So first of all, pleasure to be here and speak with you. So Nilus is basically a platform for agents for treasury and anything around cash operations. So we build solutions for large companies, mid-market companies, sometimes high SMBs that are dealing with cash complexity. Businesses that have multiple banks, they have multiple entities, they need to get their cash position daily, they need to follow their cash flow, they need to build a coherent forecast and figure out how much cash should be sent to each entity, and what's my funding needs and what's my currency needs, or how much cash can I invest. So these are the areas and the complexities that we deal with. And the way we solve it for our clients is actually through agents. So we built a system of agents that can help with data preparation, decision making, and then execution. So we're really taking end-to-end workflows of your finance day-to-day and team, and turning it to an agentic workflow from the beginning to the end. And that's the future. So we deliver it, and we work with some of the greatest companies out there. So that's me. I can tell about my background, how I got to do this, but that's just a quick intro about Nilus.
We'll get into some stuff. So you talk about the PayPal paradox. Like, what's that all about?
Yeah, so that's I spent 6 years with PayPal. I led their strategy and market dev team for Europe before starting the company. And working at PayPal, I got a very clear view of the back office of some of the largest merchants and businesses that we were working with, and saw how it's elegant and easy on the front end, but completely messy and hard on the back end. So we decided to actually build treasury systems that can work with the PayPals of the world, with the Bank of America, with Citi, and combine everything together into one place that is very easy to use. That's the paradox that I love talking about, and what turned me into building agents for treasury and cash.
So like your company is basically like taking like a chat bot. I mean, that's what you're bringing in here. And it can execute moving a $5 million, sweeping it out of somebody's account. Obviously, it's like pre-programmed based on what's going on with that business. So how is, AI, we were talking about it before we jumped on in the program, AI and AI agents, this is like one of the biggest growing things that everybody's talking about, but not everybody is deploying into their business.
Mhm.
So like how much money can this, generate? Obviously, if you're moving around money and you're sweeping and taking cash and putting it in probably money market accounts or whatever that are making a return on the cash, that's probably like paying for itself, right?
For sure, and I'll give you a very easy example. So one of our agents, we have a liquidity optimization agent that basically, once we're connected on a with live connections to your banks and to your payment PSPs, to your ERP, then you have a complete view, daily view of what's happening in my business. from a cash perspective, and we deploy agents on top of it. So one of the agents we have is a liquidity optimization agent that basically on a daily basis scans your balances and thresholds, aligned with your policy as a company, knows how much you need to maintain as excess cash for each account, and helps you drive actions after this initial review was done. So one of the things you might see is, hey, I have actually 5 million extra cash here, and I'm not really using it in this account. Let's sweep it to a yield bearing account and do some money out of that. Or that can even go to FX or to other agents, for example, payment monitoring, where we deploy agents to for fraud prevention, to scan the AP and any intercompany before it's done, make sure it's aligned with the vendors that I already have, the bank account numbers that I already have. So those things that the team is doing today, you're doing today, can actually be delivered to an agent. I just want to caveat one thing. It's not like we're giving the agent autonomous kind of go, and there's a lot of guardrails. There's a human in the loop mechanism, so the agent stops and get a response, approval, sometimes two approvals, and then acts. So just wanted to kind of mention that from a security and trust perspective.
Oh yeah, definitely. We don't want to have like the Terminator AI thing take over the world. Right?
It might happen, but not through us yet. Yeah.
We don't need that. So like when like when somebody's using like I'm guessing like the treasure CFO at a company that's managing a lot of treasury operations, and people don't understand, but there's money moving around everywhere with
Mhm.
big companies. Even a smaller company can be moving around hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Correct.
So like how many hours does this like save somebody in their daily tasks?
Oh, that's some companies. So I would divide that to either companies that don't yet have a full-time treasurer, and we can actually be this position for them with our agents. So they're thinking of hiring the next person, and Niles can actually be that. And the VP Finance would work with our platform and agents, and just reduces the need to go and hire a full headcount. Then we have companies that already have a treasury team, and they might not need to hire the next treasury analyst. So we're thinking about Nilus as like a full-time FTE that comes in the nature of agents. So hundreds of hours a week. The way we think about it, and I think that's like just when I speak about Nilus, I'm trying to also help businesses and friends understand what is the change they need to actually implement within their teams. We're trying to help our customers or prospects to think about their days, their day-to-day as workflows. So you have daily workflows, you have weekly workflows, monthly, quarterly, annual. We're trying to define those workflows for them and help them. Okay, so I have my FX, my bank account opening, my forecast. Each one of these is a workflow that could be almost driven entirely by agents. So that's what we do with our platform. But even for the audience and your business, you can think about your workflows and how each one of those workflows could actually become a set of agents to drive it end to end. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then, basically like businesses, I mean, I get emails from people all the time, all day, and I'm reading financial fintech stuff. And, people are trying to figure out how to take whatever cash positions they have and turn that into a profit center. And that's
Correct.
basically what you guys are doing
Yes,
for
absolutely.
businesses.
Yeah. So finance, for years has been like a cost center for the business, but now it can actually become a profit center, especially with treasury. You can actually make more of your money. You can reduce costs dramatically. You can improve working capital. so many different things that are an outcome of working with Nilus.
So what other so what other things are going on in the world of finance and AI like that you see businesses starting to do?
So when you think about finance in the CFO office, you have AR, which is from billing
Right.
to collection management, where our agents now are branching into collections, and we can actually send emails and reminders to customers and improve the DSO for the business. So that's happening. To treasury, to AP, where you need to maybe and then reconciliation, accounting, you need to reconcile everything, all the cash movements into the ERP. And then under AP, you have payments. So now we're helping push payments. You have the liquidity position. The agent asks you, hey, do you want me to actually prepare this payment run for you and push it with the bank? So literally end to end, the finance CFO office is going through a major transformation. Whether you're a small business or a large business, you need to think on how each one of your headcounts is starting to be a manager of agents and not manager of people or their own workflows. Yes, there are people involved, but that's a new world and it's happening everywhere. Not just in finance, but also in sales and marketing and other functions of the org. Um, yeah, it's pretty fascinating. And I think that the real breakthrough truthfully happened in the last 4 months or so. It's happening right now. There was like an upgrade in the capabilities of the LLMs and all the systems involved. Um, yeah, and it's mind blowing.
It definitely mine. I mean, whenever I talk about AI, it's, we look around to see what's going on with AI, like AI mess. I got somebody I spoke to on the phone yesterday, links up with me on LinkedIn, and then sends me some weird message. So I send the guy a message back. I go, you do know we talked yesterday. I don't know what AI thing you're using, but
Yes.
you need to watch what it's doing because it's
Yes.
sending out silly messages.
That's the flip side. That's what you want to be. By the way, especially in finance, when we build our agents, we build this with guardrails, with tooling, with testing, with auditability. You can't, in finance, you can't miss up a dollar. It all needs to tie back and be perfect. If you can do it with LinkedIn messages, and okay, maybe I'm sending a wrong message once at a time. And with finance, you can't do that. So that requires much more guardrails into how you deploy it. So that for the audience, whether it's with us or with other vendors out there, you really need to make sure that this is a bulletproof system and test this pretty well before it's running.
So when businesses have money sitting around, besides like money markets, what other instrument or whatever financial opportunities are out there for businesses? What are they doing with their money?
Yeah, so I think there's the world of how do I invest my money, how do I make more from what I have, and I think in that world, businesses need to be very careful of you need to make sure you have enough to maintain your operations
Right.
before you're starting to do investments in like more exotic stuff. And every business can do investment from money market funds, which is very low risk, to investing in stocks. And there's everything is out there up to going to crypto if you want that. So there's the world of investments. There's the world of FX currency, which is another interesting area of treasury and liquidity. I assume many of the listeners have global businesses which require multi-currency setup. There's a lot of risk, and especially what we see now in the world with all the changes, currency fluctuates. So you need to not just make spot transaction, which is ad hoc, but potentially hedge your currency needs. So buy future currency in a set position. Then you have also debt. A lot of businesses need to take on debt, and that's actually a really good instrument to fund your business. So I would say those three areas are the key financial instruments. But then, how do I make sure I have enough for what I need? I would say finance as a whole is a lot around risk management. I want to make sure I have not making any mistake. I have enough for payroll. I have enough for vendor payments. I have enough for funding my own needs in M&A, and then all the nice, interesting things around it.
Yeah, my brother's an accountant, so we always talk about, oh, is this a good investment or is that a good investment? And my brother always tells me one thing that I'll never forget. And some other people who also, you get advice from just to see like, oh, is everybody aligning? It's like my kid asked me one time, he goes, oh, should I go buy like $1,000 of Dogecoin? So I was like, well, if you take $1,000 and you go buy Dogecoin and you lose all your money, how mad are you going to be? Right.
What did you say?
He goes, I'm going to be really upset. And I said, then you shouldn't buy $1,000 of Dogecoin. Buy $50. Don't,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't, the risk, like you were talking about risk management. I mean, you have to just say like, hey, I'm going to buy this, and if I lose $1,000, how pissed am I going to be? Or if I lose
Yeah.
3,000, 5,000, or in some cases, people are gambling with bigger stuff like $1 million, right?
Mhm.
Can you lose it? So that's when you talk about risk management and measuring the risk and how that risk translates to, risk and reward, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes there's, big risk and there's small risk. So you have to kind of measure that out. So does your software also like do risk management assessments?
We try not to give clear advice. At the end of the day, the client needs to take the advice themselves, but we provide the data as it is, right? So if you for a forecast, for example, we can create a bottom-up forecast based on all your AR and AP activity in your ERP. We would bring that up. We would say, oh, okay, these are the scenarios that could happen. You now choose what you want to do, similar to the advice you gave to your son. And okay, that's what I hear. What do you think about it? Is that you're gonna be upset about it or not? That's basically what we were trying to do. We're not getting into okay, that's what you should do. These are the options.
Right. So what's your view on, we're discussing finance and money, and of course, we touched on crypto a little bit. What's your whole view on crypto? I have my take on crypto because I got involved in crypto, and crypto was basically the wild, wild west of finance, right? And it was supposed to be this whole, uncoupled from the government. We got this secret money, flying, we got this secret Bitcoins and these Ethereums and the Litecoin and the this coin. And right, and nobody's tracking our money, what they call it, decoupled finance, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so then we go from that, right, to, okay, now we need government intervention. And the guy, whatever, Ross from Silk Road, if anybody knows what that is, he had this marketplace like a Craigslist, and people were, you know, listing stuff, and everybody was transacting in crypto, and he got thrown in jail, but Trump let him out of jail because he wasn't really monitoring what people were buying and selling. And he got accused like, oh, you facilitated the sale of illegal items, blah, 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 blah. But, so we go from the wild, wild west to now we have this government intervention. And then I think the government went a little too far because now we have these tax laws that we got under Biden where any crypto transactions are tech, or when you sell, if you sell any crypto you've had for under a year, there's a high tax. Over If you had it longer than a year, the tax is a little lower, and you got to really I sold crypto, so I know about the taxes. So
It's hard.
you have to know literally I bought it on this date. I spent this much money. I paid this fee, and then I sold it on this date, and then there was a fee, and then here was the actual net profit. And you have to like figure that out. There's actually software for that now. I remember when I did it the first time, my brother, the accountant, got really mad. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna," he sent me a spreadsheet. I'm like, "Dude, what is that?" That's you're
Yeah.
talking to the wrong person. Now you just get a 1099 from Coinbase. Here's your tax bill,
Yes.
right? So, you look at crypto and you go, "Oh, well, it started over here and now we're over here and now we're all of a sudden with this stable coin thing, right? They
Mm-hmm.
want to start doing
Mm-hmm.
stable coins." I'm like, "Well, how can you good I ask everybody, I go, how can you be buying and selling stable coins, transacting with stable coins, and we still haven't had the IRS change the law on the taxes? So you're going to end up transacting with all this stable coin, and then you're going to get a bill on Coinbase for like 30% of whatever you spent." I said, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to spend $1 and it's going to cost me $1.30. I don't think I'm doing that.
Yeah.
What's your whole take? Like when
So
someone says to me, "Oh, cash needs to be digitized," I say it is digitized. It's in my phone. It's in my wallet. I have plastic. I have Apple Pay, right? What
yeah.
I don't
I'll
understand.
I'll give you my take. I think that's actually for the first time. I am a true believer that crypto or blockchain is coming to the masses and is going to make a dramatic impact on our lives. And the reason is stable coins are basically, aligned with your currency, whatever USD, GBP, whatever currency it is. But it allows you to work on the stablecoin rails, which are less complicated, real time, and much faster and easier, and doesn't have all the legacy rails on top of it. So, for example, for Treasury, that's actually a big shift that is coming to market because let's say I want to make a payment move, an internal transfer from, again, US to a UK account. Sometimes I might not be able to make it on the weekend. If I want to make a more exotic corridor, it might take me a week with the legacy infrastructure. With stablecoins, you can actually make it at the same day, at the same time, and it actually drives a lot of interesting decisions that today would take a week in advance, right? You might, as a treasurer, decide to use a deadline a week in advance and pay $1 million because you're not sure where you're going to end a month and a week from now. If you would be able to use stable coins instead of that, you can actually wait, see where you're going to end the week with. Maybe you cover it with another entity of yours or not. And that's it. You don't need to call the debt. So there's going to be a lot of implications, assuming that would happen. And I think banks are now starting to enable that and work with stablecoins more easily. So I actually think a big change is coming to the market, and there's other implications for that. If I just may add, cash seem to be digital today. It's in our Apple Pay, in our everywhere, but the behind the scene is so old, it's so clunky, and I think that's what stablecoin is trying to make to the industry. If that makes sense, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense on a larger scale of moving large amounts of money because when we first started dealing with Bitcoin, we were processing several $1 million a month for our clients. So we had a system where this company, let's say I'm selling you an expensive watch, and you say, "Okay, I want to pay you in Bitcoin." I say, "Great. The watch is 50,000 bucks." I go in the portal, I get your email address, I send you the $50,000 invoice. You get the invoice for $50,000. You hit whatever coin you could pay with Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum at the time, and Doge. You hit the Bitcoin. It says, "Okay, you need XYZ amount of Bitcoin to give Allen back $50,000. So you would do that. The only hiccups we ran into is sometimes people don't have 50 grand in one wallet. They have multiple wallets, especially
Yes.
the beginning of time because people weren't using like Coinbase to hold their money. They had it on little thumb drives, on a thumb drive. So they have to do multiple transactions, right? And then the merchant sending multiple transactions. But that's kind of one of the clunky parts of transacting with coin. But they were selling we had a lot of guys that were selling jewelry in Miami to international customers, right, all over the world, and they just want to get paid, and then they would just ship the watch to them.
Yeah.
Obviously they were people they knew, but like you were saying, getting money like through the SWIFT system can take, 7 to 10 business
Correct.
days. And
Yeah.
the guy wants to come in and pick up the watch. He can just they can just move digital currency a lot faster. I see right now, I see it more in the bigger ticket movement, because
Yeah.
we facilitated, I would say like the average size transactions we were doing were anywhere from 50 grand up to a couple of $100,000. And we did have somebody that we helped buy a house in Miami for 1.2 million.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of a
That's
pain
interesting.
because I had to go to the title company and the guy had to pay with multiple wallets. So we had to send him like
Wow.
35 invoices. And then it all got cleared, and then we had to call the crypto guys on the phone, and they're like, "Okay, it cleared," and they wired the money to the title
Wow.
company, and they closed. We literally did it in the morning, and by 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
Closed.
the money was in the guy's bank account,
Let's see.
right? And then boom,
Yeah.
the closing went down before they closed the office. And
Yeah.
the title company was like, they were like, well, we didn't think it was real, but I guess it's real. We got the 1.2 million.
Yeah.
And
That's great.
so it's kind of crazy when you see stuff like that, but there's things that have to be fixed in that so that because we had other people try to use it like in real time, like in a
Very hard.
nightclub. Oh,
Yeah.
I want to go in the bottom. I want to go get a VIP couch, right? Oh, it's 20 grand. And then the transaction goes through for five. They're like, hey, where's the other 15 grand? And if you're not watching your phone or your tablet, wherever you're doing that, you don't
Yeah.
know. So we told the clubs, like, make people pay in advance. That way, when they get there, oh, you got 20 grand. We got our 20 grand. Go crazy, spend 20 grand, right?
Yeah.
So you have to understand like that's I mean I worked with it so but like moving money around I see like a big thing for that especially internationally and in Europe they've been doing it for a couple of years. Here it kind of stopped because of the tax situation because the
Yeah.
IRS classifies crypto in the United States. You can Google it on the IRS website. It's called a digital asset. It's
Mhm.
not called currency. So they need to kind of say, okay, these are digital assets and the stable coin we're going to call currency. So
Yeah.
I think they need to fix that and then people might get more comfortable with that.
It will happen. It will happen
Yeah,
very
it's
soon,
going to
I
happen.
think.
So any final if people want to get in touch with you, they can find you on LinkedIn. Like
Yeah, so we are we're at nilus.com, nilus.com. You can visit the website, see what is it all about, the agents for treasury and for finance. You can leave your details and I'll get you onto a demo so you can see it in real time. Otherwise, I'm Daniel Kalish over LinkedIn and happy to chat with anyone and give you my advice on how to build and deploy agents for finance. So that's yeah, pleasure to be here today, and I hope I'll see you in Miami soon.
all right. Well, on the give us some final words of wisdom. And then we'll sign off.
I would say just don't wait. Go and just like you need to. I read a nice post today. It's AI or die.
AI or
That's your
die.
time, AI or die. Just like deploy that, embrace that, and that's your time. Otherwise, you might be in trouble. So that's that's my final word.
AI or die. I tell everybody if you're not learning how to use AI, you need to. people, like somebody was telling me they lost their job because they said, well, you need to learn how to use Chat GBT. And the person was like, I don't even know what that is. And,
Correct.
if you know AI and you keep advancing with AI and learning AI, you're going to advance in your business, your career, because everything is going towards AI. And
Right.
that's today's podcast. We're talking about AI and how it's going to improve finance for businesses and probably big businesses first, and then it's going to trickle down to
That's true.
everybody else because that's how it all starts. And AI or die, let's go. So Carpe Diem, thanks for listening to the B2B Vault today, the Biz to Biz podcast, sponsored by Nationwide Payment Systems. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can go to nationwidepaymentsystems.com. You can go to follow B2B Vault on all the podcast networks. And thank you very much for Daniel for joining us today from Nilus. And his information will be in the show notes. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.